We are ready to roll. Good evening, New Bedford Guide, South Coast residents. Chris Resendiz back again. Sheriff Hodgson on tonight. Before we start, though, we had September 11th again, 17 years later. Nothing changes, man. The feelings of that day, the sorrow. I mean, you got the loss that day, the tragedy, everything. But one thing that stands out to me, especially nowadays, is the unity of that time. I've never in my life, we've spoken about this before, have seen this country so divided. I mean, I was born in the 70s, 80s, so, you know, I went through a little bit in the Portuguese community in New Bedford. We were kind of ostracized in the 80s. But it was never any divisiveness like nationally, the way we have it nowadays, where people just hate each other because of your political affiliation. Those of you who do watch, I mean, you do know how I feel. I think that politics is 3% of your life, and we all strive to be good people, good Americans. I believe most of us in this world are good. I believe that most of us want all the same stuff. We all want success. We all want a safety. We all want our kids to grow up and be happy. We all want to go to our neighbor and borrow some sugar and not really care who we voted for. We don't have that anymore. And I look back at 9/11, and you see all the pictures, and you get through all the emotions of the lives lost, and you get through all the emotions of seeing people help. But one of the emotions that catches me nowadays is the unity that we don't have anymore. We just don't have it anymore. And yes, I understand there are going to be some that argue that it came to the cost of Muslim Americans, and I understand that portion of it as well. And, I do feel for those who actually suffered based on those tragedies because they were innocent. As I stated, I went through the 80s where I remember the Portuguese were demonized at some points, Big Dan's time and all that. We actually walked around and did a vigil around the Ash Street Jail at the time. And so I understand that facet of how the unity, there's always an odd man out. But it didn't matter back then. Black, white, Republican, Democrat, we all wanted the same thing. I mean, gosh, you had Democrats loving Rudy Giuliani and George Bush, and now you can't find one that'll say a good thing about either of them. So if you want to reflect back on 9/11 this week, think of the positive that came out of that. Think of the unity. Think of how we all loved each other. Think about how we all wanted to help. I mean, we got another tragedy that's about to happen in South Carolina tonight. And actually, right in our backyards, we had 50 to 100 explosions out in Andover area. Gas line tore up a few neighborhoods. I don't know how it happened exactly, but something with a malfunction in the gas line just blew up 50 to 100 homes in Massachusetts. So prayers with them, and we're going to keep in mind that we also have a big, big hurricane down in South Carolina, and we want to keep them in our minds. So get ready to donate. They're going to see a lot of the fundraising stuff, and it's unfortunate that it takes a tragedy for all of us to get together and be happy and unify, but sometimes that's what it takes. And let's be good Americans and support those in need during times of crisis, like we did on September 11, 2001. Without further ado, my friend, my guest, Sheriff Tom Hodgson, back from Washington, D.C. You made it all across national headlines for a pretty big event. Happened during a contentious time in D.C., quite frankly, where you have a Supreme Court nomination that's going up for confirmation hearings. That was a total circus, to be honest with you, what was happening in the chambers of Congress. You had the president, in the middle of this nonstop berating, but yet you went down there with 44, I believe, of your colleagues, sheriffs throughout the country, and you unified to present the president, the sheriff of the country, with a plaque and an award, and basically some encouragement, and we stand behind you. What was your trip to D.C. like, and what was it truly about? Because I know I skimmed through it, and I didn't do it any justice.
Well, thanks, Chris. First of all, if I could just sort of jump back to your opening, because I think it's very important what you said. Has a lot to do with what Washington's about. But I remember, of course, I was literally on the front steps of the Capitol when those planes hit, and then came back here, and days later went to New York to really watch probably one of the most amazing times in our history where, as you said, nobody looked at anybody's patch. Nobody looked at anything. I mean, you had people standing at the 2 miles outside of Ground Zero, families at night, at 11 o'clock at night, with posters cheering encouraging. That's all they could do, but they wanted to do something. So they went and tried to cheer for the rescue workers and encourage them to come back the next day. But to your point about that moment in time in history, I can remember saying, not long after 9/11 happened, when, as probably most people recall, the members of Congress were all standing in front of the U.S. Capitol, holding hands, singing "God Bless America." And I thought that moment, that picture, should have been blown up and hung in both chambers to remind them of
a time of unity.
A time of unity. That we are all Americans with a common purpose. And that, yeah, you can have difference of opinions, but you can hold the other guy's hand and sing "God Bless America." It doesn't, because you have come from a different place in life, or your experiences maybe molded your opinions to be more moderate or more conservative, doesn't make you a bad person. You're still a person. And you still have a lot of things in common as we do today. And I think there's just so much going on right now in the way of encouraging divisiveness. And you hear it, unfortunately, it's reinforced by the sort of slanted things that are done in the press, by, unfortunately, the leaders who our kids are supposed to look up to and people in this country are supposed to look up to, and they're sitting on the floor of Congress protesting, instead of sitting in their chairs and discussing their differences. Now it's, hey, let's sit on the floor and protest like petulant children. That's not the America, I think, that anyone that was standing there right after 9/11 was thinking of. Wouldn't have even crossed their mind. So anyway, so having said that, of course, it's pretty clear that the onslaught day in and day out to attack the President of the United States, to demonize him, to demonize his administration, to demonize the things that are being accomplished on behalf of the American people, not because they're wrong and they're not good for America, but because they're not good for necessarily the health of the other party, who may not be in the majority or who's coming up on an election. And instead of inspiring the people of America, the press included. I mean, think if the press really put on the front pages about how wonderful it is that our unemployment rate is plummeted, and with people, there's more jobs than people can take. I mean, and all those things.
They do, but they give credit. And I have to say, some of the credit does belong to the past administration, because it does take time for policy to work. But the deregulation and the certain unrestricted of business, it goes hand in hand with GDP and unemployment and employment numbers.
That's right. And
so to just always, and I found it funny because it's not only the media. President Obama's out there stomping,
and it's not all the media.
For the Democrats. No, it's not. But he also said back in the day that we'll never get these jobs, when Trump was running, we're never going to get back to that 4.
Yeah, what does he have, a magic wand?
And he did say that. Like, I'm not putting words in his mouth. You know, those are gone. We're never going to get those back. Right. I don't know where he's going to make these numbers come from. But now that the numbers are here, he's out running around on the campaign trail saying, it's part of me. I'm the one who did that. I should take credit.
And the public can see through that.
Yeah, the public can, but they can't. That's the issue. Now, we're so divided that they just, whatever one side says, they soak it in, whatever the other side. My wife and I argue politics all the time because, you know, we can just speak openly and whatever. And I bash Trump a lot, and she bashes him a lot, and then we go back and forth. But one thing that's for certain is that I wasn't an Obama fan. I voted for him in the first term, and I most certainly, by 2010, I already didn't like him. But one thing I never did was just take everything of what he did and said he never accomplished. He was never any good, because I'd be stupid. You know, these people that say Donald Trump's a buffoon, he's an idiot, or that, especially the ones that you say about President Bush. I mean, the guy's out there flying $200 million fighter jets.
Right.
What are you doing in your living room in your third floor apartment? Not that that's a bad thing, but gosh, for you to sit there and demonize a guy that's out there flying jets. I mean, and calling him stupid. I mean, come on, let's not.
Well, and it's like Melania Trump. The woman speaks 5 languages.
Yes.
Okay, and people are demonizing her. She's a graceful woman. She's He's very intelligent, speaks 5 languages. But this is where we are, and it's very sad. And,
It is.
And but we don't have to be. That's the great part of all of this, because we can make a choice, and it doesn't have to be about having some catastrophic event to make it happen. And that's why when we went to Washington, went to Washington for 2 reasons. One, we had 44 sheriffs, represent 35 states, to go there to tell Congress, look, we're all done. We did a press conference up on the Hill in front of the House side of the U.S. Capitol and said, 20 years of total inaction on the security aspects of immigration reform is unacceptable. We've been asking and asking and asking for you to pass the bills to get the wall built, E-Verify, and the lottery. Things that are going to, and reforms around if we need to add more people that can legitimately come here because we have more jobs and increase the numbers, then do that. But on
We
the
have to do
security,
something. The inaction
of course.
is just,
Yeah.
it's enough.
So for 20 years, while they sat by for 20 years, we've watched our neighborhoods and our communities erode with more criminal activity, more innocent families losing loved ones at the hands of criminally illegal aliens who have come in here. The schools have become overcrowded, unmanageable in some cases, taken over by MS-13 and others right outside of Washington, D.C. And on and on and on. So our message was real simple. We represent the same people you do all over this country. We're elected. And there's over 3,000 sheriffs in the United States. And what we're here to tell you is that since you have not moved on immigration reform, the sheriffs of this country, the American sheriffs, are going to mobilize the people of this nation. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to launch our crowdfunding page so that anyone that wants to join with the sheriffs in whatever county across this nation, you will have that opportunity to help us now keep our communities safe and contribute on the funding page to the wall so that we can get this thing done. And
Now, when you say the wall, I know you know, but a lot of people just think it's this concrete wall.
well, no, it's not.
When you talk the wall, please explain what the wall is. The wall is just a broad name for a spectrum of ideas that will take place to help our border. What are those things?
Well, first of all, the wall itself there will be portions of the border for miles that will have high walls that these individuals will not be able to get over.
Bill Clinton actually built about 400 miles during his presidency.
Yeah.
People tend to forget that.
Yeah. And so there'll be that. There'll be some virtual parts of the wall, depending on the terrain and whatever else. There'll be probably some seismic things that will detect movement, probably some camera.
Drones, all that stuff.
Yeah, there'll be some of those things. But most importantly, the barrier itself will be such that there will only be very certain small areas where they'll be channeled. So if you try to come in, you're going to be funneled so that we can better manage the resources on this side, on the interior, and not have to have border agents all the way along because we don't have a wall.
Exactly.
And try to cover that mileage. So that's the first and foremost thing that we need to do. We got fentanyl coming in.
I was just about to interrupt you on the whole fentanyl thing, but I'll let you continue.
Yeah, we got drugs. We have sex trafficking, human trafficking. I mean, these young teenagers are being given birth control pills before they're handed off to these coyotes from the drug cartels. These young girls are being raped on the way. The mother's giving them birth control pills because they know that's going to happen, and the child's they don't want to become impregnated.
Yeah.
And then there's other abuses that go along with it. So you have all this going on. We know it's going on, and the only way to stop it is to first start with a wall. You have to also have E-Verify, so businesses can't, encourage people to come here.
Well, that's the thing. We have to hold those accountable that are, hiring
Sure.
these individuals and exploiting them. It's not just hiring,
That's right.
because hiring is one thing, but you're exploiting them. If you're providing work honestly, there should be no reason why E-Verify wouldn't be good for you.
Right.
But if you're exploiting these workers and put them in terrible conditions and taking advantage of their situation, you should be penalized for that.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so that message was heard loud and clear. We had a couple of about five members of Congress who spoke, Congressman King, Biggs. There were several members of Congress who came to speak as well in support of this. But it was hot, let me tell you. We were standing out there for over an hour, and the temperature index was 105 with the humidity in Washington. It was unbelievable.
It was hot up here too.
Yeah,
I can imagine. And
we were in uniform.
I was going to say, I haven't seen you in uniform like that ever. I don't think.
Usually at formal things like that, I'm in uniform.
Yeah,
but
it was good seeing you like that.
Yeah, and you know, so we finished there, and then we had a round table at the old executive office building at the White House, where we met with the head of Customs Border Patrol, met with the acting director of ICE, we met with top policymakers from Justice Department, and we had an opportunity to talk to them about the various issues that sheriffs were facing in keeping our communities safe, some new ideas about things we could be doing that may enhance our ability to deal with the criminally illegal aliens, and some of the court challenges that have created some problems for some sheriffs. And actually, about 5 minutes into it, the vice president popped the door open and walked in and said a few words to everybody, went around, said hello, and then left. But after about an hour, we headed over to the White House. And that really was where we had the opportunity to go into the East Room. I went to greet the president, to bring him down, and present him with a plaque. And it was a plaque that had a sheriff's badge with his name on it, and below it was inscribed, "There's a new sheriff in town." And it said, "In appreciation for your support of our efforts to enforce our nation's laws." And then it was signed America's Sheriffs. But the reason that we wanted to do this and we felt it was so important was because, as I said to him when I spoke before I handed him this plaque, and I said, you know, Mr. President, in 20 years, Congress hasn't been able to act on things that we've been asking for to help secure our communities. In fact, their inactions made our communities more dangerous. But in less than 2 years, you've been in office. You've given law enforcement back our footing. And you have begun to help us turn back the MS-13 gang members out of our communities, strengthening our partnerships with 287G for ICE so we can hold people inside our facilities who have already been arrested by police departments in our counties, and not let these criminal illegal aliens back out to commit more crimes against innocent people when ICE has the ability to hold them. And of course the wall, and I explained to him what we had done earlier in the day for the wall. But he was extremely happy, and I think he recognized, and as I said to him, all the sheriffs standing behind you know that when you, not long after you got in, you began to fulfill a number of the promises that you made in your campaign. And we noted that people were starting to say, including the press, there's a new sheriff in town. And we knew that to be, as sheriffs, a very endearing phrase, because what it suggests is that there's a lot of problems and somebody's coming in to fix them.
Someone needs to address them.
And that was you. And we very much appreciate everything you've done. And we really felt strongly.
How's his demeanor in person? Is he worn down from all this just everyday attacks? I mean, the man's in his 70s, correct? And I mean, at some point, you just got to be like, you know what? Leave me alone. Like I'm losing money doing this. Yeah,
you know, the average person. I mean, this is a guy who gave his I think his last year's salary to the veteran cemeteries. Yeah. He's not taking a dime out of the salary for president. He's driven. I believe this, and I really feel strongly about this. He is a person who is so driven by solving problems. He gets a lot of enjoyment out of seeing something that's been a problem and fixing it and making it, you know, very productive. And as a person, average person, even before he says anything, you feel comfortable in his presence. When he's talking to you, he's very engaging. He doesn't look over his shoulder to see who's around. He's talking to you. And you know he's very serious about what he's doing. And it was interesting because a couple of points after he started to leave, and the press person, he shouted the question to him about a New York Times op-ed piece that was written saying that somebody in the White House was leaking out saying that they were really, running things and trying to prevent the president from yada, 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 but didn't sign it.
It was like the senile dad type they try to make him out to be, that
Sure.
all the kids are out there trying to
Sure,
uphold his honor.
sure. If you try to write a letter to the editor and you don't sign it, they won't let you publish it. But the New York Times allowed this op-ed piece not to be signed and not the person to be identified. But
Here's the thing. As a man of integrity, which I think I want to be and I strive to be, if I'm unhappy at a job, if I feel that strongly that my boss is doing the wrong thing, and I mean, if you're working in that type of position, you can go get a job anywhere at this point.
right,
What are you doing writing tattletale notes to the New York Times, which I'm not fully convinced, and then why not just quit?
right,
Go get a job somewhere else and speak your mind freely.
right,
I mean, all you have to do, here's the reason why, because Omarosa tried that. And what happens?
Right.
She got downplayed because of the person that she was and the person that she's proven to be over the past decade.
right,
So this person's hiding because he knows, or she knows, whoever it may be, that they could have quit,
right,
that they could have moved on. I worked for you at the time. I left. I could have said what I wanted to at that point
Sure.
without repercussion.
right,
That's what this person should have done.
sure,
And to me, it's classless. Not only that, you're undermining the highest office of this country. So not only are you, no matter what your opinion is, no matter what your thought process behind this letter is, you're hurting your country by doing this.
Right.
You're not helping your country. I don't care how you put it. Somebody's going to say something. All right, if it's that big of a deal, if it's this urgent, turn in your paperwork, get on. CNN would love to have you on. They'll have cameras set up for you next hour.
oh yeah,
They'll run out a limo, they'll send you a private jet and drive you to get to the studio in New York City, and it's all yours for as
Right.
long as you want to talk.
exactly,
What is this New York Times crap? What does it say about the person that's doing this backdoor tattletaling, or if it even exists that this person is even a high-ranking official in the White House? It may
Well,
not even
and
be.
what does it say about the New York Times? This has never happened before. So you have to ask yourself, why suddenly around President Trump are you going to allow this kind of thing to go on? And it was interesting because there were a couple of times where the sheriffs had clapped when the president had said, there are more jobs than we've ever had. And of course, we gave him a round of applause. He talked about, I'm sure you all probably benefited from the tax break. And of course, we gave him a round of applause. And at the end, he said, when I'm done 6 years from now as president, and he said, because nobody's going to beat me, he said, you got to love his confidence. But anyway.
That's how you have to be.
Yeah. And
We'll talk about that
yeah.
in a separate piece.
But he said, but they won't have anything, they'll be out of business because they won't have anything to write about when I leave, right? And so a lot of these other places, these fake news places. And we clapped. And so the next day we had gotten a call from a reporter from the Washington Post, myself and 3 other sheriffs.
The Amazon Post?
Yeah, and they asked, why did you clap? But, about the newspaper, about when they mentioned that about the newspaper and so forth. And I said, well, first of all, the sheriffs, we're all about fairness. And the way the person shouted out the question, I think most of us thought was pretty disrespectful, the way it was done. But more to the point was, we know what's fair and unfair. We're criticized, sometimes fairly, sometimes unfairly by the press. So we get it. We don't have a problem with criticisms. We're in a business where that's going to happen. But the way, the complete imbalance around how this is all playing out, I said, you didn't see me turn to everybody and say, hey, let's clap. People clapped spontaneously because they all felt the same thing. And one of the other sheriffs who was asked a question about it said, we just honored the President of the United States. And if you poke the bear's going to poke you back. And that's fair game. Don't go poking the bear and then say, hey, you hands off. Because if you're going to attack somebody and you're going to allow some anonymous thing to be sort of suggested out there, then expect you're going to get a poke back, and that's life. Another sheriff said, you know, we were very happy to be here, very proud to be here, to watch the president choose some ass. That's how he put it. And they wrote it that way too at the end of the article, but it was true. Because, look, he's the president of the United States. The man is doing what he promised he would do for the people. All the sidebar stuff is really about politics. It's about distracting people. Every time something, if you pay attention to the patterns, as soon as the president has some announcement of something good or significant,
it's like there's a Rolodex.
A quick story, yeah, quick story comes up.
And we just announced the highest GDP in the past 6 months. Next story, let's cue it up. And they'll
throw something out there. They'll throw something out there to get. It's
predictable.
Yeah. So I think sheriffs, because we believe, be fair. If there's fair criticisms, we're good with that. But
there's plenty to criticize.
Of course.
His delivery at times sucks.
Yeah,
and you can criticize that all you want.
Yeah.
And I'll 100% with you. Some of the stuff he says, he does kind of lay out points and statistics in a way that's
different.
Kind of, pushes his way. You can talk about that. But gosh, every single thing, like I said earlier in the beginning of the show, towards the end of Obama, I didn't like him. I didn't like Bush towards the end because that's how I voted for Obama.
Sure.
It's crazy. And but to sit there and to every single thing Bush, Obama, or Trump did to say either of them are dumb, you are 100% dumb for saying that. Like, you're just one of the dumbest people for ever saying that. Either of those three are dumb. That they never accomplished anything. Dumb again.
Right.
And it's just these people that keep continuously throwing this crap of, the president's stupid. Either one of those three. I don't care which side. I'm going to be fair here. Whether you said it about Obama, whether you said each of them have their things, good and bad. You have good stuff. I have good stuff. You have bad stuff. We have bad stuff. And the criticizers out there have bad stuff too.
Sure.
So you have to accept that it's not all bad, though. It's just not. It's impossible. Look at the dang economy.
Yeah.
Look at the way other countries are looking at us right now. People are scared of us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And look,
you got China that's taking steps back when they trampled all over us. Countries in the Middle East are not messing around anymore.
Yeah, and you don't have protesters feeling free to go anywhere they want and expect that there's not going to be any consequences anymore. You don't see them lighting these fires and all these other things because they know we're not going to tolerate it because we got our footing back. But, there are people who you don't have to like somebody's personality. And look, the president he's a counterpuncher. That's who he is. He's a counterpuncher. And if he doesn't go out and start attacking people, if you ever notice, he never starts going after people. But if you come after him, he's going to counterpunch you. And he's probably going to get you, not with one, he's going to get you with two.
Yeah.
Because that's him. He likes to win.
He has him on counter and below the belt. And that's
what
it is. There's no fair fights.
He likes to win. And you know what? If you don't want to have him say, as he said about Maxine Waters or crazy Maxine Waters or whatever those things are, don't come out and attack.
I mean,
if you want to attack him,
all you got to do is review the tapes. She speaks for herself.
Yeah, but I'm saying you can disagree on. Look, Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, they argued vociferously. But they argued vociferously in the daytime over their policy issues, and they were good about that. They both of them felt strongly about their positions, but at night
they drink scotch together
and they play cards.
Yeah.
And you know what? They saw themselves as people first, but people who had different points of view, who really felt strongly that their approach was the best approach, and that's okay. But I hope people fight hard for what they truly believe in. In the end, if it doesn't go your way, well, maybe the next one will. But in the end, you fought the good fight. The public maybe didn't come down your way, or maybe you didn't have, in the end, the full authority to make your position work. But
that's politics. That's the definition of politics.
And life. So, but as long as you keep the parameters within the world that you're debating and not interject into the fabric of that, your personal lives of who you are as people and how you interact with each other as people, as humans, then we're okay. We're okay. And that's the great part about America. America wasn't intended to be a place where if you disagreed, then you're dead wrong, you're no good, you're a xenophobe, you're this, you're that. I mean, I love when people call me anti-immigrant. My father was an immigrant. What, I hate my father? Are you kidding me? But that's okay. That's what I'm talking about. You can say, hey, I don't agree with your position. I think whether your father was an immigrant or not, I think that really people ought to just be able to flood across the border. And I'd say, okay, I respect that. I don't agree with it. I think we have rules and laws. If we want to change the laws and we want open borders, then let's change the laws. But until such time as we do that,
Follow the laws.
This is where we are. So look, to your point, look, some people think because I'm comfortable speaking on television or to media.
Don't call me media, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not getting. I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah,
not
yeah.
used. The other day,
Yeah.
somebody wrote me an email and said, "You're one of the good local media," and
Yeah,
I'm just a guy with a show, and I'm just like trying to use this to,
of course,
help educate people. And actually, I really the best part of this show is the stuff the side stuff I do, the events we put on, and But for the first time, somebody actually put it in print. Oh, the media. And I'm like,
well,
I never think of myself as media. Like that's
it's funny because that you say that because when people would say, you're a politician, I go, no, I'm not a politician. No. I'm a representative of the people, elected representative of the people. I'm not a politiciien. Because today...
It's a dirty word.
Yeah.
It
used to be an honorable thing because back then you were elected and then it was an honorable profession because people honored each other. Yeah. But so, look, people like yourself, Chris, and people that are in leadership positions, we have the opportunity to recapture that.
Yeah, of course.
Through what you do in your shows, by talking about it, encouraging other people, the paying it forward when you're at a Dunkin' Donuts window, somebody behind you, pay for it,
yeah.
And that act of kindness, believe it or not, goes a long way. And you don't know if that person voted for Hillary Clinton or whoever. Who cares? You didn't. You know what I mean?
The best thing is, I sat here a couple weeks ago. We did the Cuts for Kids event, and I'm on a New Bedford politics page, and I'm sure everybody sees me going back and forth. And I throw some zingers both ways. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I love just the people the hatred and the vitriol supersedes the facts.
Yeah.
Type stuff, and
Sure.
I kind of poke them on purpose. It's my vice.
Yeah.
But then they turn around and see a guy who leans right, helping inner city kids and helping out minorities and immigrants and stuff like that, and they don't know how to take it. It's the weirdest thing. They're like, I don't like you, but you're a good guy. Like, wait a second, which one is it? Like, what I mean? This.
But isn't it interesting
it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
I've always been this guy.
Right.
It's just, like I said at the beginning, politics, this much of me.
Yeah.
And actually, I watch you turn red on every little thing, so I kind of poke you. I'm sorry. I enjoy it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like I get a kick out of it. I shouldn't, and I'm going to have to pay for those sins someday because I should have just counseled rather than poked. But, we're not perfect. You know what I mean?
And sometimes, you got to admit, it is a little fun sometimes.
Yeah.
But I used to do that with my brothers and sisters.
Yeah, of course, man. That's exactly the case.
Yeah, and my brothers and sisters, I got 12 brothers and sisters, and, probably 3/4 of them are far more liberal than the rest. But
my father is a huge liberal who says pure socialism is good. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing. There's not a man on earth that has a kinder heart than my father. There's not a man on earth that I look up to more than my father.
Sure.
There's not a man on earth, woman on earth that I don't. My parents are gold. They're liberals.
Yeah.
They lean way far left compared to what I do.
And
I respect them and I hold them in such a high regard
of course,
of how good of human beings they are.
And you know what? There's a place. There's a place for all of us. Whether you're conservative and you're somebody who believes that rules protect society and protect the ability for someone who's liberal to be able to have the freedom to do those things. You need both. And it doesn't mean that you're not compassionate. Your emphasis may be more liberal, but it doesn't mean that the conservatives aren't kind and aren't doing things like helping kids like you do and all the other programs you're involved in. So it isn't, we have to get away from measuring our humanity and our decency
That's what I'm saying. Like,
and pushing it through the political filter first.
Exactly.
To decide
like,
how really how good of a human being is this person depending on what comes out the other side of that political filter.
it's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's so we're better than that. We're better than that. We can what we're talking about in our differing points of view. If you really listen to people, sometimes you can find out where those things come from. That somebody who is maybe anti-abortion, that person may have lost a child that they wanted and wished that they had, or there could be some other thing that influenced where they are. It doesn't make them a bad person if you are a pro-abortion person. So you can't, we have to be accepting of people's, views and how they arrive at those views and try to understand them so that we can be better educated and maybe be open to listening, and then maybe they're open to listening to where we come from, and maybe both of us find that, geez, there's a little bit of both of us that I'd like to mix in to who I am.
It's a great segue into what I want to get into next, which is personal development and stuff I've really been into the past, I'd say probably 8 months or so. Routines of ultra-successful individuals, people like we just spoke of, President Obama, President Trump. I spoke to you at the beginning of the show. I said, don't be shy, but I'm going to mention you because, you're a sheriff leading the president and the vice president up to a podium. Bristol County Sheriff, a guy that just came from a cop in Maryland that became a city councilor, that went to a sheriff. And now you're walking 44 sheriffs and the president of the United States and the vice president of the United States up to a podium. And you're presenting them with an award that you organized this event. That's an ultra-successful individual. Another part of why I consider you ultra-successful is because you go against the grain in this area and nobody can touch you.
Well,
and it's a mindset, and it's something that I want people to start seeing besides the politics. I want to use you today in this segment of the show to show people the mindset of a successful person.
Sure.
And how to get away from the negativity and what routines that you have or that you've had. Like, you didn't just wake up Thursday morning of that week and say, hey, I'm going to come up with this event. Like, for years now, and we talked, and I'm going to cheat because I brought it up and I told you to stop telling the story before the show because I want it to be organic for the show. There was a point when you were a lot younger where you said, I'm going to be in that White House doing something. And you did it. You're here now in the White House anytime you want. I know that for a fact. I know you have an open invitation. I actually got a little inside story that Jeff Sessions at a big bus was like, hey, where's the Bristol County Sheriff guy? Hey, tell your boss I said hi. Like, you're up there in the world. You got guys internationally known, Jeff Sessions, Donald Trump, that know you on a first-name basis.
Yeah, and what I would say is that, I was blessed to grow up in a big family, and so early on, you learn to, like a litter of puppies, you got to find your little place first. But that's like anything in life, whether you have a small family or a big family. The first thing you have to do is, in my view, is you have to believe in yourself, and you got to believe that you're capable of doing things. There's I remember when I was younger, I was probably about 12 years old, maybe 13, and my friend and I used to ride our bikes down to downtown Washington. We go to Mount Vernon because we didn't have anything else to do. So we just, hey, what do you want to do? I don't know, let's go to Mount Vernon. It's like 25 miles each way, but it killed the day.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'd always stop by the monuments. Like, we climb the monument, we go by the Capitol, and one day we went into the Capitol, and we were sitting up in the chamber. And I remember watching there was a session going on, and I remember looking, there was an empty chair, and I never forgot this. I kept staring at this chair, and I just kept staring at it and said, you know what, I'm going to sit in that chair one day. And ironically, today, people have asked me, hey, why don't you run for Congress? I'm like, you know what, that's the last place I want to be, is sitting in one of those chairs. Because over the course of time, I learned that you can make decisions and move things in other positions. I'm not a horse trader. And I find that legislative work is cumbersome at horse trading, it's watering things down, and very little gets done. When you can make decisions and be in an executive position, you can do far more, and you can work with those people. You know, I work with senators, congressmen, I work with the president, I work with other presidents. So for me, I sort of look at the mission and what can be accomplished through the mission. Who are the people I need to deal with? And I always said this, look, the presidents of the United States are presidents for one reason, because they believed they could. They believed that they could be the president of the United States. And
that's not something new. That's something from a long time ago. It's just not an overnight thing that these people are getting to these positions, like yourself.
Yeah, I think but it's starting by believing in something that's you feel passionate about or whatever, and that you can be there. And it isn't. I think when you do that, and you sort of watch those that are there or have been there or what have you, and you meld it into what you do every day. Like for me, I see this fit. Like I'm looking at, okay, how else can we work on the immigration front? Okay, in the sheriff's departments and the jails, we can start querying all our databases and identifying imposters. We have thousands of them in our jails, fake IDs. We're not doing that. Now, someone else might say, hey, I'm a sheriff, I'm just going to work on this, and that's it. But I'm always sort of looking at, okay, now how would I do that? Who do I need to talk to about that? I know that the administration is trying to find ways to make it so it's easier to try to identify these people with less cost to the taxpayer for more staff and all that. Well, the jails have a resource. Let's do it. I said when I was at the roundtable in Washington, I brought up to the policymakers, I said, listen, is there any possibility that there might be grants where you could create incentives for every state, if they're willing to train their people at the registry of motor vehicles to understand how to identify imposters that are coming into fake driver's licenses, and then contact local authorities immediately, and create a program that does that. And so I wasn't, for me, I saw that place in government is a place where that's where the solution can come from. So, but in the end, I think it's like, you know, some people said to me, you know, hey, geez, you left a county in a different state that you grew up in. And 10 years later, you became the sheriff of a county in a whole other state. And it's ironic because I thank my brother every day, my oldest brother, because I worked for him when I came up here. And I came to New Bedford for that reason, to run his legal services group and marketing group. And after a few years, he had to lay me off. First time in my life I've been laid off. And I thank him every day. I said, John, thank you. I never would have been the sheriff of Bristol County if you hadn't laid me off. So it's about believing. You know, it's about setting your sights on what you want to do and saying, I can do that.
Yeah, I'm reading a book right now, and the book's titled The Magic of Thinking Big. And it's all about that. It all starts with your mindset.
Yes.
I mean, it all starts with setting goals for yourself. It all sets, you know, another book, Tim Grover, Relentless, being that guy that just keeps pushing.
Have you read Anthony Robbins?
I do.
Unlimited Power?
Yes, I got into it, and I never finished it, to be quite honest with you, because I got turned on by a podcast. I'm a guy, here's my day at the gym. I wake up at 4:10 every morning. I say my prayers, brush my teeth, do 20 air squats, 20 push-ups, go downstairs, take my pre-workout, hit the gym, read for 30 minutes while I'm on the elliptical, and then I listen to an ebook. Well, I meditate in the parking lot first, and then I read, and then I listen to an ebook. And so between the reading and the ebook, sometimes one takes me another place, and then in the middle, you know, books are referenced in books. So in the middle of the audiobook, the Robbins audiobook, that's what I was doing with him. I was reading a book, and it told me to listen to this audiobook. So I kind of skipped past it. I'll get back to Robbins. I got turned off by Robbins because he does a lot of funneling. You know, listen to me here so you can buy this there type deal.
Yeah, I always sort of, the overcoming learned behaviors was actually one of the things I talked to Aaron Hernandez about. It's one of the things that made him feel like we were on an even plane now. He tried to say he tried to, when I first met him, say, hey, I'm more street smart than you are. Well, no, you're not.
Yeah.
And that's when we had this little back and forth. I started asking questions about overcoming our behaviors, what are the key motivators in people, things like that. He didn't know. Once I explained it, he was like, well, you're pretty good. But the point is, regardless of which it is, there's probably some people out there right now watching this show saying, how the heck did Chris Resendiz get to be this guy who's doing these successful podcasts?
I'm saying that too.
Yeah, no, but you know what? But you don't know today. You may be saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be doing this."
Oh, I have my plans.
National podcast.
This isn't national. It's not the show part of it. I like this.
Yep.
And like I've told you in the past, people say, "Oh, you must do well money-wise because you're always on, you're always doing things." I don't make anything here. I do this. It helps build relationships, networks. I see the value of that. I see the value of having a guy like you that I can call and talk to and ask you for advice. And I've gotten that through this show. You were one of my first guests, and now I have an open line with you where I can get in touch with you. And there's a reason, because we built the trust, because you see what I'm trying to do. And I have that with other people. The Christian Farlands of the world. Of course I have a plan to network, to grow, because someday I may need the assistance of you, and I've already come to you about other things, like, hey, I'm doing this project, maybe you can lend me your canines to do a demonstration, and other stuff, that we've talked about. I'm actually going to bring up something here in a little bit, and part of it now, I didn't see it that much in the beginning. I learned real fast the power of this show. Real fast, and it could have gone one way or the other. And and I know I've chosen the right way to do things. I've chosen to use this in a proper fashion where I can help people.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, no matter what somebody says about you, if your actions speak louder than your words, there's nothing they can say bad about you. If I'm out there doing good stuff for the community, if I'm out there showing, not talking, but showing that I'm here to make the greater New Bedford area a better place, day by day, or that I'm here to grow myself so that way I can be a better representative and a better ambassador to this city for others to help, then I'm doing the right thing here, The same thing you've done. And that's why I'm trying to explain to the viewers right now, and I'm using you because you're one of the more successful guests that I've had. And you're someone that I strive now, and I didn't see that because there was a time that Chris Resendiz did not like Sheriff Tom Hodgson. There was that time. You know that. We've spoken about it. And that time was driven by jealousy, ignorance, and quite frankly, immaturity. And I wasn't sure of myself at that point, where now I see that I'm learning to think bigger, to think beyond myself, and to think, what can I learn from you rather than what can I hate about you? Yeah. And that's what I think people need to stop doing.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point. But probably all of us in our own ways went through those same things and did it. It's part of the process of life. The question is, what do you learn from it, right? What do we all learn from where, we took this road and realized that really wasn't maybe the best road to take. I know this one over here is probably more scenic, but I chose to go down this one and it didn't work. So I'm reversing my track and I'm going down this one because I do know there's another one. And so we've all done that, and we all do that in life. The real key to success is knowing when something doesn't work, and then saying to yourself, "That's not where I want it to be."
But you got to learn something from it.
That's the point. That's the point. And what you learn is that I don't want that experience.
Everything's a lesson.
Yes.
People don't realize that. People use them as a crutch. People use them as an excuse. But every time you hit your head on the ground, if you can take something out of that, whether it's strength, a lesson, or that scar or that callus that you developed, you can use that for the future. And a lot of people, got to get up.
Well, you must remember the story of Thomas Edison. They said to him, "Hey, he tried to invent
his house on fire."
Yeah, but they said, you've tried to invent that light bulb. You've tried 999 ways to invent the light bulb, and you failed every time. He said, "No, I haven't." He said, "I've eliminated 999 ways it won't work."
Yeah.
And so when you look at that's really the success formula in life. Try. If it doesn't work, okay, you're closer to your goal. And so
He
you're
burned his whole
smart.
laboratory down. You know that, right? Right
Yeah,
before
I know,
He,
yeah.
Right before he did the, I think it was the radio.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it was the light or the radio, but he actually literally burnt down years and years of studies. And then within 3 weeks, it was one or the other. I lose my mind now. It was either the light or the
Yeah.
phonograph that he actually perfected
Yeah.
after burning his lab down.
yeah. Well, he probably figured that was probably not the best form of light.
Yeah.
He's burning the whole lab.
And he sat there, and everybody was crying, and his son came up to him, and he said, it's going to help me. It's going to clutter or something. I forgot. I'm butchering it. It was in the Napoleon Hill book that I read that actually described the
Yeah.
story.
But, it's interesting. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. I always tell
No.
people, somebody's already reinvented. You can
improve it every
improve
which
it.
way.
Improve on it. But yeah, success is really about, believing in yourself and believing in your goals, where you want to go, and sticking to them. And it's, my father always used to say this saying, God rides straight with crooked lines. And sometimes those things will play into even what you think might be this direct place to go to your goal. There may be some crooked little place that you go that you never expected would take you to where you are. But you had your mind set on something, you believed in yourself, and you believed that no matter what, I'm going to succeed.
Of course.
I remember my youngest sister, my mother said to her, she had a big job with Woollywear. She was the designer. She was buying fabrics all over the world. Right out of college, making big money. After about 3 years, she quit. Said, I don't want to do this. My mother said, but Tina, you're doing so well, yada yada. Nope. I want to be an actress. My mother said, well, if that's what you really want to do, but if it doesn't work out, you've had a job doing this, so you could maybe go back to that or something. She said, Mom.
I'll never go back.
She said, it's going to work. I'm going to be an actress. And she went and lived in an efficiency apartment in New York, and she started practicing on stone stages. I guess they call neighborhood stages. And she eventually, she's been in, what is it called?
Broadway?
It's a mountain families that's above a town. Oh boy.
You're asking me about movies and TV.
Yeah, I'm not a big, if it's not on one of the cable stations for news, I don't usually watch it.
I'm done nowadays. I put my kids down at 8 o'clock. Thursday's my late day, and I'm in bed by 9:15.
Yeah. That's
cut out all TV.
Well, you get up
and
at 4 o'clock. I mean, come on.
You have to.
Yeah, but
If you read into all these successful people, man, everybody's getting up at 4.
yeah, I get up usually around. I usually wake up automatically by 4:45.
Yeah, it's.
I'm a little less successful than you, but I'm gonna get up at 4 and work on that.
How about
baby.
this one? I know I'm going to be more successful than you. Go back to that. That's where my mindset's at right now.
And you know what? Success.
And it's not. And there's a different measurement. There's all different ways to measure
Yeah,
success.
but you know what? Success is. Real success for all of us is living a wholesome life and doing for others. That's
Here we go.
That's real
what
success.
I'm talking about.
In life, when you do that, you find that a lot of doors open that even help you be even more successful. Not that you're looking for that, but there are these, blessings that come your way.
You don't do it for the wrong reasons, but I'll tell you one thing. Every time you do something positive and you surround yourself, the law of attraction is real.
Yeah.
It's scientifically proven. Positive thoughts, positive actions, positive returns.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so, you of course, you build your success on that is your foundation, really. And then where you go in your goals and those kinds of things, you've got a huge, really solid foundation to build off of, because you're a wholesome person who can be very open and outward with people and open to different ideas and things, even people that, because you're not a judge, you're not being judgmental when somebody has a different point of view. You're looking at it like, okay, that person's coming from somewhere else, different experience, and so you gain that benefit as opposed to somebody who shuts a door on it, and because there's no success formula in that. Because when you begin to shut out the ideas and the feelings or compassions of other people, you miss out on an opportunity to grow yourself. You don't have to adopt all those things, but just the mere fact that you're willing to listen and try to understand gives you a whole different place in life than if you say, hey, you don't agree with me, all done. You basically are shutting down the opportunity to be
100%.
a better person and a more really intelligent person.
Most people don't realize that, you know, and most people don't see that side of you. Every time I bring you on, not the last couple of times, but prior to that, I've had 2 or 3 people tell me, I've never seen the sheriff so humanized.
Yeah, you know,
any show. Everyone turns, either cuts him where he just sounds like a jerk, or he's talking about stuff I don't agree with. But Chris,
Sure.
you tend to make the guy look like a human being. I said, I don't make him say anything.
Yeah.
One thing I do is I used to provide at the beginning, here's a list of what we're going to talk about. And most guests took it. And you, from day one, I need to look at that.
Right.
And there was a reason why. Because you're always genuine and you always believed what you believed, and that's it. And if you tell the truth, you don't have to worry about looking at stuff and covering it up afterwards, you know?
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because I remember there was a radio talk show host, somebody called me once and said, hey man, you got to go, this guy at nighttime down in Fall River, he's kicking the you-know-what out of you every single night. He everything.
You tried it with me, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And
it's
so,
not there anymore.
Yeah, no, but this is a reverend guy. And so I said, you know what? I told my press person at the time, I said, listen, I'd like to go on this guy's show. Call him up, see if I can go on the show. Went on the show. This guy didn't believe in anything I did. By the time I was finished that show, he was like, wow. I said, yeah, come on up, Reverend, look at the place. And so
have a bologna sandwich.
It was easier, yeah. It was easier to sort of categorize me as people, you know, he's hardcore, he doesn't like inmates. I mean, people are like, oh, he hates inmates. No, I don't hate inmates. If you and I were in jail and they told us we could watch TV, play cards, smoke cigarettes, and hang out, or go to a program to deal with our alcohol or drug problem, or get our GED, or anger management, or religious retreat, or whatever, you and me are going to watch TV, play cards, and lift weights, because that's from whence we came. My job is to channel people while they're there for however long to gain something in a toolbox that they didn't have, so when they leave, they're better equipped to really integrate and not come back. I don't want them coming back. I told an inmate one time, he says, we can't lift weights, we don't have this. I said, listen, I'm not going to fail you. And I'm not going to fail the people who are counting on me on the outside, who put me here to do everything I could to make sure that you assimilated and didn't go back out and commit crimes against them or lead a life of crime. Why would I do that? It'd be easy for me to do that. Hey, go lift weights, play cards. But then I fail. My job is to put myself out of business. And I can't do that if I know I'm giving you alternatives that are going to make you stay away from the things that are going to make you succeed.
Absolutely.
And that's, but people saw me as, he's hardline, he doesn't like inmates, he's taking this, he's taking, no. Not at all. I go in and talk to inmates. I've talked to I had one guy I talked to. I was asked to speak to him by a family member because he was getting ready to be released. They wanted me to keep him there. He said he was going to kill his wife and his daughter when he got out. And I said, well, I can't keep him in, but I'll go talk to him. And the guy at one point goes, well, it's kind of weird. I wouldn't be expecting to talk to you, the sheriff. I said, okay, well, I don't know why. I said, but I can tell you this much. You didn't know me and I don't know you. But for some reason, you and me are in this room together.
Take advantage.
There's a reason why you and I are having this conversation right now, and I can't explain to you because I didn't know you. So there's something here. And I talked about God Right Straight with Crooked Lines. He started telling me a little bit about how tough it was growing up. By the time I was done, he ended up enrolling in Teen Challenge, which was a commitment after he got released.
Excellent, excellent.
And I brought him back, and he ministered. The only time I ever brought somebody that was in our place back.
That's awesome.
And he ministered to our inmates for a lot of years. And he graduated from that Teen Challenge. He was going to leave after the first week, and I took his daughter. I said, look, before you do that, I'm bringing your daughter up this weekend. And me and this other guy, you know who he was, who worked with IA for us, Santiago. Yeah. So he went with me. And so we brought the daughter up there, and she went for a walk with her father. And he said, I'm going to stay. And he stayed, completed the program, went to the graduation.
It's one of the most successful programs out
Oh,
there.
there's no question. And do you know, now this is years ago, and he left ministry after 2 years. I haven't talked to him since. I was asked to speak down on the Cape. There were some Teen Challenge people there. I said, hey, you know this guy that I'm talking about? Oh, yeah, he was my guy in Teen Challenge. In fact, he's working in New Hampshire. He runs the
Teen Challenge out
the
there?
program up in New Hampshire.
Awesome.
I said, really? I said, you got your cell phone on you? He goes, yeah. I said, take a picture. Send it to him and tell him, where are you? We're down here on the Cape, and you ought to be here. And I hadn't seen him in years. But if you were to listen to if you were listening to people who just quickly go, hey, he's hard Tom Hodgson, whatever they call me. Hey, listen, like you said, we are who we are as people. And so if you don't know me and you don't know what I do, you will judge based on whatever you hear or what you see or whatever. We've had protesters. Oh, they're...
Had them again the other day, didn't you?
Yeah, we did, but you know, it's okay. I tell them, you can protest all you want. The bishop who was there, he's a bishop of a different sort of, not the Catholic denomination of the Vatican.
You could have Jonathan call me so we can go live when he shows up.
Yeah, no, actually, afterwards, he came over, and I chatted with him. I said, Bishop, why don't you come in? Come on in and talk to me. Come in and see what we're doing. He said, you know what, I'll do that. And he's coming. He's coming next week.
Excellent.
And he's going to come in. He's going to sit down. And you know, whatever he feels at the end of it all, if he thinks still all those things they were protesting about are really true, then he'll say that. But I can assure you, because this has happened before. I had a guy come from Newton once who was demonizing us. When he came down, by the time he was done, and no offense to Jonathan, but he was saying, hey, you need another press guy because you're not getting, this information isn't getting out there, right? Well, it is getting out there, but the problem is it's not sexy. It's not sexy to write about. Yeah. It's this other stuff that they try to sell papers and things with. But this guy even walked away going, I'll help you. I will help you. And that wasn't me sitting there trying to convince a guy of anything. He simply, when he started to see all the things we were doing, he goes, wow, I apologize to you. I never knew. Because I didn't ask.
Yeah. And that's how I was on that side. I'm going to be honest with you.
But
I was
give
on
him
that
credit.
side.
Yeah, I give him credit because he's doing what you and I just talked about.
Yeah.
Learning. And then saying, oh, I can change because I didn't know this.
Yeah, I was on that side.
And he was fair about it.
With you. Me and you had that relationship where you didn't because I wasn't significant to you to think about. But I thought, this guy. I was there. I really was. And now I have people. I had someone this afternoon at the guy I used to work with. By the way, for the record, back to the bologna sandwich. I do not work for the sheriff.
Right.
I haven't worked for the sheriff since 2001.
Right. And that's no baloney.
And that's no baloney. My next career will not be at the sheriff's office. My next career, I'm working on it. And has zero to do with the sheriff's office. I'm going to be out of public service totally.
Well, don't forget it's wherever you're going to be famous.
Oh, no, I'm not going to be famous at all.
Yeah, you will.
I'll be at your roll calls probably, but that's about it. I'm not going to be famous. So I just wanted to talk about that there's no, like I had guys that work with you now. Oh, what job are you going to get behind the wall? Dude, no. Whoa, what the hell are you eating bologna sandwiches for? Because I want the people to see what they eat in jail. Is it that hard to believe that the square root of what I wanted to get done is show people what they eat in jail? And that's what I did. Oh, you had a special meal made. I walked right up to the line. I told the guy to throw it on a thing, and I grabbed it, and I walked out of the cookhouse. I did all that stuff, and people didn't, and I got crap from the guys that work for you, and I got crap from the people that saw the post that, bologna, that's not what you eat. Bologna, it's funny, but they said other words, but close to bologna. That's not what you eat. I'm like, dude, I grabbed the meal off the line. I'm like, that was it. And I ate it. I didn't eat it at the cookhouse because it was during lunch, and they're not going to put extra guys in the cookhouse to protect me, because that's not how it works. And, but I do not work for the sheriff is the point of the story. I do not have an application at the sheriff's office, and I have no intention to work at the sheriff's office. Will I work with the sheriff? I'd love to. Certain projects. That's it. We're going to end this now with, we did the good stuff. We did from your visit to Washington. We did actually stuff that could actually help people grow. March, we started the show with positive, then we went to the wall to rub people. We went to how to help people grow and some positive things. If you guys ever want a good reading list or some good stuff that I've been working on for personal, email me, Chris at New Bedford Guide. I'll ask the sheriff what he does, and I can pass that along to you as well. But now we're going to get back to just kind of grinding and doing what you do. I'm going to give you one of 4 topics, and we can discuss it. Susan Collins has been getting death threats and all kinds of stuff based on her vote. She's the most swayable Republican to vote for Justice Kavanaugh. Not yet Justice, but nominee Kavanaugh. Or we can go with Jimmy Carter coming out right now. Jimmy Carter, of all people, telling the Democrats, do not go too far left, you're going to lose. Jimmy Carter doing that. Probably the leftist guy that's been in our lifetime president.
Yeah.
Or the 15,000 immigrant families that were caught at the border in August. Which one of those 3, open mic, you talk and you discuss to close out the show? I'll let you pick one.
Well, I think the Justice Kavanaugh situation, as current as it is probably the one that really sort of captures what's going on when you have people who are making decisions about or making issues around Justice Kavanaugh's appointment. This has got one of the most brilliant jurists that they've seen in a long, long time.
And mind you, he has the largest track record of many appointees, the past several appointees. He literally has a huge track record to go by.
And the Supreme Court has adopted, I think, I forget how many of his 30-some odd decisions of his or something that he had in the court where he served. But, you know, what's really interesting is Lady Justice is supposed to be blind. That's why the blindfold's on there. But yet, you have people in Congress that are weighing whether or not they're going to vote for him based on legislative persuasions. And it's not supposed to be legislative. It's not supposed to be based on
You're not supposed
any
to
of
legislate from the bench.
No. And yet, they're weighing in on politics and legislative differences with parties as to whether or not they think this person should or should not be a judge. The question is the person of sound judgment? Is the person, is he a superior jurist? All of the things that are really required of a judge, if you listen to the kinds of, I mean, really disrespectful nonsense. I mean, they had to take his daughters out of the hearing because of the way that these adults who were sitting there were supposed to be representing us representing the people of the United States on the picking of the highest court, and they have to take the children out of the room because these people are so disrespectful and inappropriate. I mean, if that's what we're seeing at the hearings to select someone to the highest court in the land, why would we ever expect civility amongst our children? Why would we ever expect them to adopt a model of decency when we have people who they're supposed to be able to look up to serving as the example, acting worse than the young kids? And so
100% agreement. There's a way to do things. You can protest.
There is a way. And you know what? I hope, I know today there was some new development. They're going to refer him to the FBI or something for an investigation because of allegedly some situation involving a girl in high school.
California 30 years ago or something. I read a
This is a judge who's highly regarded, who has been screened by the FBI since 1993, okay, with no issues, okay? And so suddenly, when he's going to be appointed to the highest court in the land,
this lady comes out.
Yeah, it
reminds
ridiculous.
me of what you spoke of earlier, that every good thing that this administration does right around the corner, there's the roadblocks that
Yeah.
the media already has pre-written and ready to go.
But who's it-
GDP is above unemployment. Let's throw this out. We got more jobs than there are unemployed people. Throw that out. Throw
Right.
that out. Like all these little.
Right, distraction.
You should be celebrating it. Like people are like doing a wonderful, wonderful job right now with their investments. Like this is a time where you should be happy and thankful. Like your 401k is kicking ass.
Yeah.
What are you doing right now? Your kid's college fund is doing well. And if it's not, maybe you should start buying in if you don't have one set up. Now's the time. Let's go. Like, you know what I mean? Start doing something with this economy.
Could you imagine turning on the TV right now and just hearing on these reports that, boy, your 401k just went up 10%. You know, there's new opportunities for homeowners to buy homes, to do things. Instead of, you turn on the news and all you hear is this one and that one. And those people that are driving that narrative, they're people that aren't interested in the people they're supposed to represent. They're interested in their own political warfare. They've turned the institution in Washington into a political playground. And it's been going on for years now, and it's only gotten worse. And frankly, hopefully the American people are now at a point where I think they're getting there. They see this and they recognize, hey, wait a minute. We're also responsible for allowing our government to get away from us, because we are the ones with the power. We choose who we want to be there. If you don't like the way you have 5 kids, you don't like the way one of them's behaving, you don't let them sit there and encourage the other 4 to misbehave, right? You take them out of the picture. In the case of where somebody's representing us and they go there to take care of their own agenda and forget about the agenda they were supposed to be going there for, then we have the choice. Do you want to let somebody hijack that office and use it for their own reasons? Or do you want to get somebody in there that honors your vote and your expectations and put them in there instead so they can do what you originally sent the first person down to do?
That's how it's supposed to work.
Right.
But
And
unfortunately,
we have to get back to that.
we have to get back to
We
that.
have to make that choice, and we can make that choice as Americans. Let's get together and decide, we want civility in Congress. We want our kids to be able to turn on a TV and see people debating issues respectfully and civilly with one another, working toward a common goal, albeit wanting to go down different roads, but wanting to get to the same place, and doing it with respect and dignity. And that's
Editing has been our biggest, editing in the media has been one of the biggest problems. If you just, and nobody wants to watch C-SPAN and watch civil debate, but if they started actually putting Republicans and Democrats agreeing on stuff once in a while,
yeah.
it would change the whole mindset that
Oh,
fast.
sure.
It wouldn't take long.
Oh, sure. Well, look, how do you feel? How do you feel when there's a really competitive game, whether it's football or baseball, and it's so close, and this is a championship, and you see the players going over to the other opposing team that won, the team that lost, going over and hugging this guy or talking to that guy, and you see, Brady going over to some guy. And
If it's that good of a
saying,
game,
"Great
yeah.
You know what? People, even though they lost, and it was a hard-fought fight, they go over
And they appreciate it.
They shake each other's hands and they they hug each other, and they've known them from this one or that one. But when they were on the field, they weren't hugging.
No.
They weren't shaking hands because they were fighting for their position on the issue. But when it was over, the guy that won, okay. It was a competition. It didn't go my way. Maybe the next one will. But I respect that if I won, I respect the fact that this guy fought so hard to get there.
100%.
Didn't make it, but I also feel for him because I know what we put into it, and I wouldn't have wanted to lose, and I can't imagine what it feels like. So you get that sensitive feeling too, even though you won. It isn't just about me, I won, hooray. It's like you go over and say to the guy, hey, great game, And so...
It wouldn't take long, Sheriff. it would not take long if members of Congress, and I know you said Trump's a counterpuncher, but if he held back a little bit more,
Sure, and I think if we
I
could
think
get,
he could extend the olive branch, and we could turn things around right now. But honestly, I also think politically he's smart. By keep jabbing, he's making his opponents seem childish, and I think that's going to hurt them in the midterms.
and every time he twitters, and every American that looks at that Twitter is being talked to directly by the President of the United States.
Yeah, it's a whole
different ball game where you didn't,
He's
you didn't hear directly from the President of the United States. Maybe on a newscast you saw something, but he wasn't,
Ah.
the President wasn't normally reaching out and talking to every.
And there are people in his administration, I know there are, that cringe, like, oh boy, here he goes. And I believe that. That's believable about that whole thing.
Well, but I would tell you this.
But I don't.
I would say this. I really believe that most people have been the reason. One of the reasons that people like it, even sometimes the unorthodox way that some things are said, people still like it because they were so used to people in elective office parsing their words and making them feel like, oh, we're taking care of this for you, we're doing this for you, and
It was all bullshit.
and it was all bull. It was not. It was just to make feel good sort of comment that they would make just to appease you. But in the end, they figure you'll forget about it, you'll be busy, and nothing, and you'll elect me again, and whatever. Donald Trump's a problem solver. He sees a problem as like, I can't let this go. We got to fix it. And then he drills down and he fixes it. And that's the difference. And he talks about it in layman's terms. And people get it. And they're like, I kind of like that. They go, I don't know if I'd say it that way, but I like it. I like the fact he's being honest with me.
Oh, he's tapped into a whole different market for a politician.
And he's a brilliant man. He is a very, very smart man.
I'm going to go back and say anybody that gets to that position in life, if you call them stupid, you yourself are the stupid one.
Yeah.
And I look at it, I'm like, that doesn't happen by, his father gave him billions. Okay, sure. And there's plenty of sheiks out there and their princes and all that stuff, and all the other kids that their fathers gave them millions, and what'd they do? They pissed it down the tubes.
And look at his family. Look at his
and all his kids are all put together.
Sons and daughters. They're
100%.
all very responsible people that they have their own goals. They.
And then they say, and the answer to that when you bring that up is, they all went to private school and all that stuff. So why are they still so close to their father? Answer me that. Because most of those people, that's ultra successful dads that just shoot their kids away, their kids kind of get lost in the future, but those kids all gravitate towards their father, and there's a reason behind that.
And there are plenty of people at the private schools that are far less successful and not necessarily as well reared.
100%. Anything I missed, Sheriff, that you'd want to bring up tonight before we close this? I don't know if you have anything coming up that you'd want to share, or
not. We're going to be doing a conference call with the White House again this next week. They want to continue the conversations with the sheriffs, so we'll be back on the phone with them now. And I expect that this will continue in our efforts to make our community safer in a number of different ways. But the next step is going to be this conference call to talk more about how we're going to implement some things, and we're going to make America safe again.
Excellent. Now, part of that is networking in the community. I know you've expanded some relationships with local police departments.
Yeah, we actually have one of our officers rides full time with one of our gang officers rides full time with New Bedford gang officer they work the shift together. We're doing more training for police departments for their canine ballistics detection and improvised explosive devices. We're training dogs canine for Fall River and we're building the collaboratives to share whatever resources we can.
Excellent. And that was something you were big on, and it does help the community. You've been trying it for years, and you were running against the union grain for quite some time. But you're moving forward, and you're actually, when you're helping the community, it's kind of hard to argue that. Yeah, and you know what? We're all in it together. We're all brothers and sisters in law enforcement. I had one New Bedford cop tell me, "Man, I don't give a beep whatever badge you're wearing. If I'm wrestling with a guy on the ground and you're there to help me, and you're there to help me get home to my kids, I appreciate you."
Right. And my guys, if they hear a call, they'll roll up and they'll stand by and see if they need him. And we had a case in New Bedford recently where I think it was a shooting or something, and a guy took off, and they told our guy, "You go. We check that part of the neighborhood, check this one." So, over time, I think people realized, hey, look, there's no threats here. We're
Are you
here
looking
help
to
each other.
expand? Are you looking to expand as far as law enforcement? Is
We're-
there,
we
is there
have a-
any potential for that as far as budget-wise, that you can grasp more federal funds in order to help you become more of an asset to this community in terms of law enforcement?
Yeah, no, I'm a big believer in the partnerships and responding to what PDs need. And they've been very cooperative and working together with us. In the beginning, it was, sort of a little more challenging, but today I think they understand that we're all in this thing together. Nobody wants to take over anybody else's turf. There's plenty of work out there for all of us to do. Our warrant teams work with other warrant teams and the drug task forces. So I think over the course of time, people started to understand that, hey, all of us are good guys that want to do good things for people and protect the good people from the bad people. And
Excellent.
so that's kind of where we're at, and I feel good about it. I love working with our chiefs, and they got great departments in this county.
Excellent. Sure do. And I'll tell you what, the job's not the same that it used to be out there.
Yeah, far more dangerous.
It's far more dangerous, far more contentious, where you even have good citizens disliking law enforcement these days. It's a crazy dynamic that we have going on. Like good law-abiding citizens that have negative attitudes and opinions towards police officers.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, and
It's tough.
unfortunately, I think that started to happen, and I'm not being political about it. I'm just saying under the
Oh, the
Obama-
Cambridge police officer,
Yeah.
I know what you're getting to.
the beer summit at the White House. And
Yes,
that
100%.
was the beginnings of a change, but we're back. We're getting back. President Trump's given us our footing back, and I think I know law enforcement's energized across the country.
Excellent, Sheriff. Thank you as
Thanks for
usual.
having me.
Every time I ask, he comes on, never wants a list, never wants to know what we're talking about. He just shows up, and it's free-for-all. I appreciate his candid answers and his approach when he comes here. Sheriff Tom Hodgson, like him, don't know him, dislike him, he's honest when he comes here. He's honest because he pretty much says the same thing every single time I've had a conversation with him. And if you repeat the truth, there's nothing to hide, there's no lies to hide behind. Sheriff, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Every time you come down here,
Great to be here.
I appreciate
you guys
it.
are doing a great show and very important work.
thank you, sir. New Bedford Oktoberfest coming soon, October 13th, down at the Pier 3 this year. It's going to be outdoors. There'll be tents and all that good stuff. A lot of you guys don't understand that the South Coast Business Alliance puts on this Oktoberfest yearly, and it's their big event. They also do a golf tournament. Yes, it's a good time. Yes, it's a party. But it's a party that generates a lot of money that goes to good causes. At-risk youth in this area is their main goal. They helped out with Cuts for Kids. They helped out with the toy drive I've done, and they've done a bunch of other stuff. We're about to start a project with them coming next week. I'll let you guys know about that. But Oktoberfest is what generates the money that they use to help our community. Tickets are on sale. You can go to their Facebook events page, NB Oktoberfest, Oktoberfest 2018, and you can get your tickets through them on Eventbrite. $15 early bird special right now. Get your tickets now while they're cheap. Enjoy a good time, be around good people, and your money is going towards a good cause. New Bedford Oktoberfest again, October 13th. I'll post the link in the comments section. Thank you all for listening. Chris Rosendi Show. I'm honored that you guys actually watch, and I hope you learned something tonight. And one of the main things I wanted you to learn is to be kind, expand yourself. You gain nothing by negativity, and if you think big, you grow big. Have a great night. Thank you again.